Hey Jacob, this is Joshua Toups reviewing your senior thesis. I want to say great job on your video presentation and on your paper. I truly learned so much. You wrote on a topic that I do not know very much about at all. And so going through your paper, listening to your presentation, it really illuminated a lot of different ideas and thoughts that I've never had the privilege of studying before. So I want to say thank you for writing on something that was interesting, and you made me think, and I think you have a great paper. So I want to say thank you for that. Here's what I noted to be your thesis. You said, however, under further scrutiny and interpretation, the Council of Trent affirmed a form of justification by grace through faith apart from works. And that is a clear thesis. That's a major pro of your paper. I didn't have to guess what you were trying to argue for. Your thesis was clear, and I'll say this, your paper was well argued. You took this thesis and you worked it out to the fullest extent in a way that we can understand it. It was well argued, and your paper was well organized. I can clearly see where you were going and what you were arguing for. I tracked your paper, the main movements of your paper, like this. After your introduction and the introduction of your thesis, you gave historical background on the Council of Trent and you detailed their language. This was necessary in your paper to help prove your argument, especially in a Baptist setting like we are in. You spoke of justification and the differing views, imputation and infusion. You gave good nuance on these two and how they're different and how they work together. You have this important phrase that you started to mention here, and you said it throughout your paper. Something can be unbiblical but not heretical. I think that was essential to your paper, and you used that phrase. Well, I do have some questions about it, but that was a major part, a major movement of your paper. And then you moved to see how imputation and infusion are compatible with each other to explain justification, and use that to explain how the Council of Trent did not promote a works-based righteousness. And you concluded by saying that the Council of Trent on justification might have some understandings that are unbiblical, but they're not heretical, and that the Catholic faith affirms justification by grace through faith apart from works. And a pro of your paper that I see as I went through it, you said that you were thorough in your oral presentation, your oral defense, and I agree with you. You were very thorough. I like how you didn't just use Protestant theologians and scholars and commentators to talk about the Council of Trent and Catholic belief. No, you went to primary sources. You went to Catholic theologians and Bible scholars and to the Council of Trent itself to explain your paper. Man, that was so helpful for me, not just to know what Protestants think about what Catholics say. No, you went to what Catholics say. We got to hear it from their own lips, and you explained that very well. Made your paper very thorough and very well argued, because I can know that this is what Catholics say, this is what Protestants say, and you're pitting them against each other and using them to shape your argument. Yes, you're very, very, very thorough. That's a major pro of your paper. I think another pro of your paper was the context you gave for the Council of Trent. You spoke of how the Council of Trent arose during the Reformation time, and they made a deliberate decision in their writing to use the language of the Reformers instead of the language of the Scholastics from the previous Catholic era. And they did this to build a bridge with those who were being swayed by the Reformers to go that direction in their faith. And I thought that was a very helpful historical background detail that you gave us there, because it really helped prove of what the Council of Trent is saying when they talk about justification, that they deliberately made choices to use language akin to what the Reformers said. Man, that was so helpful, and it really gave good nuance for the paper and what exactly the Council of Trent is doing. It helped me engage in a further level in your work. One question I have is if you meant to capitalize justification in some part and leave it uncapitalized in other parts. I know that's silly, and I know that's very minor, not a big deal at all, but I just want to know if there's a reason of why, like on pages 5 and 6, you capitalized justification, but later in the paper you didn't, and on other times you capitalized imputation and infusion. Were those deliberate choices? Or like me, I made this mistake many times. Sometimes I capitalize words that are important to me as I write the paper, but maybe they don't need to be capitalized. I don't know. I would like to know just what was the decision on that, if there was one. No worries if not. Stuff like that happens, for sure. And this another part of your paper that I think was a key part. I'd love just a little more explanation on it. Page 6, you said, although infusion is not biblical, this section will defend that infusion is not heretical and is even partly compatible with the biblical view. So that distinction there from something that is heretical and something that is unbiblical, I would love maybe just a little more explanation on what that word heretical means. Like, what does it mean to actually be a heretic, to have a belief that is heresy? And how is that something different than something that is unbiblical? Is heresy like a belief that has me outside of the bounds of the Christian faith? If that's so, that makes sense. Or is heresy just a wrong belief? I guess that's what you mean by unbiblical. Just a little gray area there. And as we dialogue, I'd love for that, just to hear what you really meant. Maybe a definition of heresy. I think that would help strengthen your argument. Another pro of your paper was on page 14. You talked about Catholic baptism and how that's one of their sacraments. I've always thought that proved they had a works-based righteousness. They are being baptized to be saved. And you helpfully like detailed that that's not exactly what they believe. And I think this was a pro of your paper. You put us into the Catholic faith to where we don't straw man them. No, we're letting them speak for themselves to truly understand what they're saying. So you said that when the Catholic faith says that baptism is necessary, that is the means by which they receive the grace. But baptism isn't a work, is what I understood you saying. That what Jesus has done is enough. Salvation is by faith through grace. We are justified by what Jesus has done, but salvation is the way we receive it. So yes, that is wrong, but we differ there with Catholics. I see what you're saying, but that they are not saying that salvation is a work. That was very helpful, and I think that was a key part of your argument, and I appreciate that. Page 18, you said, if a so-called church were to deny this gospel, justification by faith through grace, by grace through faith alone, trusting only in Jesus, if a so-called church were to deny this gospel, then they are no church at all. I agree. 100%, I agree. And with this condition set, the Council of Trent, the primary council of the Roman Catholic Church on the nature of salvation, does affirm justification by grace through faith. And man, that is thought-provoking. That is very thought-provoking. What you're saying is that when it comes to justification and what you have argued, that the Roman Catholic Church has the right belief, even though they might have some unbiblical terms and heretical, unbiblical part we talked about. But what you're saying here is that the Roman Catholic Church, in regard to salvation, is a true church. And that is that's a very thought-provoking sentence. And it, as a reader, it left me with something to chew on. And I would say that's a pro of your paper, right? That you left us with something to really think about in a clearly defined thesis that was well argued, and this was the conclusion. Really helped me think about this, and I think it was very thought-provoking. And I want to say this, you have a great thesis. You defended your thesis well, and it was thought-provoking. It was very interesting. I thought your oral defense was great, really introduced these topics and helped me understand what you were writing even better, and I think this was a great paper. I think you have something to be proud of, and you left me with something to think about, and I walked away with many takeaways, and I feel like I have a better understanding of what Catholics believe. Thank you so much, Jacob. Great job. I'm excited to continue to interact with you.